Hello everybody, in this episode Luke overthinks the UFO soundtrack. I've long been a collector of TV and film soundtracks. I've got loads in my library. Well, I mean, I say loads, and they're probably quite directed in certain directions. There's a lot of science fiction. And this is the latest addition to my Jerry Anderson collection. I've got the two Thunderbirds discs, the Captain Scarlet one, the Joe 90, and was very disappointed, I guess, when I became a UFO fan to discover that the only real way that the UFO music had previously been released was through the Fanderson. I'm not a member of, not really my thing. So it was with great delight that I heard that they were putting this out for everybody to buy. There is a shiny purple vinyl version, if you want to get hold of that, or the CD version. I believe it's available on Spotify, so you don't even have to fork out for it if you want to listen to it with adverts. I clearly wanted it, so I bought it straight off from the Silver Screen website, which is lovely, but has a very antiquated payment system, which looks like it's walked straight out of the 90s. Or possibly the early 2000s. But anyway, but do persevere, because that was the cheapest place I found it. I've listened to it a few times. Most recently today, I've been working away today, so I've had a drive up and down the M42 and the M6 toll, if you're familiar with British roads. So it's been my driving accompaniment today. Basically, it's a lot of fun. It's really good. If you like Barry Gray's music for any of the Jerry Anderson shows, what are you waiting for? Particularly if you like UFO, definitely, what are you waiting for? If you don't fall into either of those categories, you might need to get into UFO first to appreciate it. And certainly some of the resonances of the music are different if you know the pictures that, I mean, I shouldn't really have to say that, really. That goes for any soundtrack. By necessity, it is a snapshot of the music from the series. It only takes in a handful of episodes. I'm just going to count them. Consulting the back and the sleeve notes, I think I've counted 11. Somebody may comment that that's wrong, but it's basically less than half the episodes represented here, and some very much, I'm not going to say overrepresented. Ordeal very much sticks out with 4 of the 21 tracks. Although it is definitely a candidate for the worst episode of the series, it has some nice music. And to be fair, I think that's true of some of Murray Gold's music for Doctor Who, where whatever the story, he turned in a good soundtrack. And the same, I think, is true for Barry Gray, that even on the weaker episodes of all the Jerry Anderson shows that he wrote music for, there are some strong cues. And I think possibly A Rose for Sylvia, possibly my favourite track on the album. It's very catchy, very jaunty, and it does conjure up the image of Foster walking towards a block of flats with a rose. I think it's a well-structured album. UFO having had the non-consistent broadcast schedule that it did, you couldn't even satisfy that by going, well, here we're going to put the cues in episodes and broadcast order. And the episodes that are represented are split up in various places. They're not just like, here's a plunk, dum 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 dum. It's been very deliberately structured. Obviously, you've got the UFO main titles at the beginning, the end titles. Not quite the final track, I'll come back to that in a minute, and then everything else kind of structured in between. And I think they've done really well, because I suppose there is a tendency, along with the whole tone of UFO, for the music to be quite bleak. This album probably is not representative in that there's quite a lot of jolly Barry Gray music on this album, which I think works as an album. It's not supposed to be representative of the show, it's supposed to be a fun disc to spend an hour and 10 minutes listening to, or dipping in and out of. That said, if you know the stories, there's an extra poignancy to some of the jolly music, because you know ultimately where those stories lead, which is marital breakup and death. But if you don't, you can just enjoy the jolliness of the track as it enters your ears. As I said, it doesn't end with the UFO end titles, because if you've seen UFO, you know that they are atypical in that they don't have a jolly end theme tune, song, or even, in the case of Thunderbirds, march. It's a very sort of bleak piece of incidental music from Doppelganger that ended up being the end of the UFO. And so to end the track on the album on a high note, they've put in the track Trampoline from Ordeal, which is the sort of piece of dance music that they put in, which is one of the things that massively dates the episode as being made in the late 60s. And not set in 1980. Well, as if all the other aspects of the show doesn't date it to the late 60s and not 1980. I think they got pretty much everything wrong in that regard. But it's a nice bookend to the album. You get the fantastic opening theme, definitely up there in the top. I mean, some would say the top one. I mean, there's so many good Jerry Anderson themes, but I mean, it's very much one of my favourites. And then ending with Trampoline by I think the Spencer Davis Group is the name of the, yes, got that one right without looking at the sleeve. That is a jaunty tune to end the album with. I've waffled on for far too long about this album. I love Barry Gray's music. I love the music of UFO. I'm glad that we finally have a disc with a really good selection to listen to, and I will no doubt be listening to it many more times over the coming weeks. If you've got your own copy, do please let me know in the comments what your favourite track is. If you haven't listened to it yet and you've got Spotify, head over there and have a listen and let me know what you think. As ever, thank you for watching. There's a subscribe button around here somewhere for you to click on if you're not subscribed to this channel and want to hear more from me. You can also head over to my Patreon to support this channel. The big benefit, there's various benefits, but the big one at the moment is that if you support me for $3 a month, you get to watch these episodes a week before everybody else. And then somewhere there'll be a playlist of other videos if you want to catch up with what you haven't yet seen.